Hey, welcome, all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in to check out your boy, P-Funk. Thinking right out here in my lab. I'm in the book. I'm about to get some information that some people might not like or agree with, but it's information, and as always, it's the truth from my perspective. So let's do what we do. Right isms. 25 rules to live by. Storytelling. Story with a message. There's always a message in my story. For life, I give you life lessons. You tune in and receive them. I appreciate you. We got a good thing going. Let's do what we do. Right? Thinking. Mission. And that's all I'm on. Is to enlighten, inspire, educate, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right thinking's way of life through mental and spiritual discipline. Practice when daily will help and guide you to obtain your goal of reaching spiritual enlightenment, aka know thyself. My mission is that all right thinkers know thyself. If you're a right thinker, your goal is to, know thyself. You see where we're going with this? Let's get there together. So I asked the question, do you know you? You will when I get through, because that's what I do. A person who, it's rhetorical, but if you don't have the answer for yourself, tell them, I got you. That's what I do. A person who knows not, and knows not that they know not, is foolish. Disregard them. A person who knows not, and knows that they know not, is simple. So you can teach them. That's why I do what I do. For you, I appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not, and believe and think that they know is dangerous. Avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know is spiritually asleep. I can awaken them. I'm your spiritual alarm clock here to wake you up with knowledge of self. That's what I do for you. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself, and to my eye be true. Right thinkers, we still in the book. Origins. Okay. African origins. We talk about the cultures and religious concepts. I left off talking about how some Western and Arab scholars distorted the truth to make themselves look good. I'm just going to continue off of that. So I'm going to tell you the title right now. Right thinkers, let's learn the truth about the lies in the Bible. Figure you have fun with that one. Let me go. All right. I finished up with telling you about they had a concept. They corrupt nature of the history. They corrupt the history nature. And scholars and those who perpetuate such an iniquitous misrepresentation is evident. They know they was giving wrong information. They know they was lying, so to speak. Okay, and they went with it. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay, if I know you're lying, I'm not rolling with you. So we ain't gonna go to that concept. Watch this. So still another motivation has been to try to synchronize the events such as those described in the ancient Egyptian text, or you got your Greek histories with those of the Bible. The Bible, I just got finished talking to my students, and if they would understand, I'm trying to explain to them, all you have is biblical knowledge. Okay, but that's all you got. I got knowledge precedes that. And only way you can learn if you listen and let me explain it to you and let you bring you up to date, and so to speak. But they hell-bent, so I had to, okay, now let me get some proof. Now, watch this. For example, to this kind of writing, it can be found in a book that by W.G. Waddell was called Manetho. He was the first pharaoh at the time to unite Upper and Lower Egypt. I know that's the history, but watch this. So some historians feel this kind of distortion was done. Why? To establish prestige of the Judean-Christian tradition. The reason being similar to what? That discussed above earlier. Why? Because they believe that Judean-Christian view was that having other traditions that are what? Recognized as older and have more honor and heritage and prominence would undermine the perception of the Bible and its ancient and the concept of infallibility. We about to expose the Bible. A bunch of people have been doing it for 2,000 years. It ain't nothing new, so let's go. I'm not here making attacks on the Bible. I'm just going to read it from the book. Let somebody else do that. I don't have to. Now, they say Okay, here we go. Others feel what? The reason for them doing this was out of the effort to what? Try to prove and substantiate that ancient Egypt culture existed within a time frame that the Bible has posed for the creation of the world. I tell you, the Bible used Egypt to justify the existence. We can prove Egypt. Ain't nobody or nothing in the Bible we got no proof of, and they still hell bent on, no, please, I can't help you. I can't help you. If you want to learn, let me teach you. But if you hell bent, I can't help you. That's my point. I have experienced that right now. Where every time we get dealing with people's religion and the concepts of belief, don't do it. Why? Because they claim the Bible got the creation story of the world. The creation was dated, what's this? 17th century. A.D. The Irish Archbishop James Ussher, Ussher, to use, what's this, to have occurred in the year, what's this? They say the creation started in the world 4,400 BCE. So 4004 BCE. That's just wrong. We know that now. But if the world is approximately 6,500 years old, as postulated, written by the Archbishop and the scholars, this would support what? The teachings of that book. But make the teachings of the book, let me move back on this. It is postulated by the Archbishop, who said that this would support the teachings presented in the church, and the 6,500-year-old makes it invalid. Why? Because the existence of the culture and philosophy, and most of all, religion prior to the emergence of Christianity. Y'all didn't start nothing. Cool. The work of Darwin, which is the theory of evolution, and other scientists caused major controversies in Western society. Remember the West? That's the white people. A case in point, what's this? The attempt to correlate the events of the biblical story starting with the Exodus with those of ancient Egyptian pharaoh. They say Ramses II. The Bible never says who the pharaoh was by name when Moses exited out with the Jews. So, and there are no accounts. Again, what's this? There are no accounts of any conflict, the Jews and the Egyptians, in any ancient Egyptian records yet discovered. The story of y'all being slaves to Egypt is just y'all story, not ours. Where you get that from? Okay, that's what he proved right there. So now, beyond any inscription at the Karnak temple with Egypt stating what? That the Jews were one of the tribes under the Egyptian rule in Palestine. They had their area that they ruled. They didn't know what the other people was doing, so okay, they could have been there with no problem. Okay, but what's this? Secondly, there are no corroborating records. No evidence other than the Bible, your story, of the events chronicled in the Bible. Again, in any of the contemporary writings from that country that had contact with the Jews and the ancient Egyptians. Nobody have that story. Coincidence. So thirdly, there's another one. We got a few points. We're hitting on each point to prove we ain't here just blowing smoke. We just making points. That's it. So thirdly, there were at least 11 kings who went by the title of Ramses. Again, which Ramses? Oh, again, that takes care of that. Well, it was Ramses. Which one? And they never said that. They just used the timeline at that time to say, well, who control who? Ramses. Okay, watch this. So now, Ramses 1, 2, 3, 4. Which one? Again, spanning a period. Watch this. Now here's the chronicle evidence. Spanning a period dated traditionally, your Egyptologists, from 1307 BCE to 1070 BCE. Further, some localities were also referred to as what? Ramses. He was the forever at that time. So they can use that, to justify, but that ain't proof nothing. Right on, watch this. So now you got the oldest scholarly dating for the existence of Moses. If he exists. There's still no proof that he did, but if he did, he would have been around 1200, circa 1200 BCE. However, most biblical scholars agree that the earliest texts of the Bible were composed around, 1000 BCE. That's the 200, it's little time difference there, okay? And what's this? Or later, and were developed, you ready for this? Over the next millennium. Also, most scholars are now beginning to accept the truth, the ancient Egyptian and therefore African ethnicity of the original Jewish people were black. An example of modern scholarship of the question of the origins of the Jews occurs in the book, what? The Bible, as a myth. The Bible real, the people, nope. As a myth, the African origins of the Jewish people in a section entitled, ready? Contradictory Biblical Evidence. And the author is a guy by the name of Gary Greenberg. He says this: dating the Exodus that the Bible claims happened is problematic. Why is that, Gary? Because the evidence of its occurrence appears exclusively and only in the Bible. If it's two sides to a story, we only got one side of the story. Where's the other side? Moving on. And what little it tells is, at best, contradictory. What you mean? Again, not just saying it. Let's put this into the test. Now, if Exodus, volume 12, verse 41, 40 and 41, for example, is places that the Exodus took place 430 years after the start of Israel's sojourn in Egypt. In essence, they begin with Jacob of Isaac to the end of the bondage. Both claims cannot be true. Why? Jacob was born in Isaac's 60th year, and he didn't arrive in Egypt until his 130th year. Scooby-Doo, what roll? Sound like a problem. Whose? Theirs. If the sojourn lasted 430 years, as y'all got in your Bible, then the Exodus would have to have occurred 620 years after Isaac's birth. On the other hand, if the Exodus occurred 400 years after Isaac was born, then the sojourn could only have been 210 years long. Other biblical passages raise additional problems. And the whole book is like that. So why? Because there's nothing to argue against it. That's like you going to court, argue against what? Nobody. Get the concept? Because it's the Bible, it's okay. Just believe it. Where's the proof? You don't need proof. Just believe it. It's a belief system. That's what we do. We just believe. We don't philosophize. We don't break down. We don't manifest. We just believe. And they figured out what? The power that the belief really has. I told you that a long time ago. I know that. They did too. And they used it against y'all. Okay? Give you a lie, make you believe it, and you'll manifest a lie. You'll make a lie come true. But it's still a lie. Moving on. So now, where we at? The story, this is a good one right here. I'm going to close out with this one. The story of Sargon, who the hell is that? Okay? Points to another source of, watch this, purpose for the Moses story. Now, we know the Moses story. Moses, there was in Egypt, so he put him in the basket, and Pharaoh's daughter found him and raised him in the house of Egypt. He learned the ways of Egyptian priests, all that good stuff. But then when he get away and take the people out, the Exodus, he go out to Mount Sinai, God gave him another set of commandments. Really? You didn't know the 42 confessions in my yacht? That's just my little personal thing. But watch this. Now, for the story of Moses. Now, in our present context, according to the biblical tradition, this we're worrying about right now, at about 1200 BCE, the Hebrews were in Egypt. Okay. Serving as slaves. That right there No proof of that. Not whatsoever. But we ain't gonna argue that. Moving on to get past that. Now, a Jewish woman placed her son in the basket and allowed it to float downstream where the Egyptian queen found it, and they adopted the child. That's the biblical story, right? Just like the virgin birth. We got that story 4,000 years ago with Haru and Asar. We know that. Y'all saying you didn't. Okay. Now you got another story about your book, about Moses. What happened? Watch this. Now you got a Jewish woman put her son in the bag. Yeah, okay. Then they adopted the child. The child was Moses. Okay. What they call the chosen one of God. According to who? Who would what? Who would lead the Jews out of bondage? They'd have made their hero. Okay, that's what they got. Moses was now taken into the royal family and taught. Right here, I got a problem. He was taught the wisdom and related to rulership of the what? The nation as well as the Egyptian religion. Right there. If he knew Egyptian religion, he knew Maya. So they say that he was, watch this, and the Egyptian temples. Nowhere in the world you can go to any temple and not know about Maya or know thyself. Moving on. The Bible in Acts 7, verse 22, that says he was being groomed to be a king and the high priest of Egypt. It was said. This is why the Bible says he was knowledgeable in the wisdom of the Egyptian. Bible, Acts 7:22, and the Quran, with a certain 144, verse 37 and 76 to 76. But here's the kicker. A similar story of the birth of Moses about a child being placed in a basket, put into a stream, which was later found by the queen, can be found in Zoroastrianism mythology. Again, mythology as well. I don't want the story. But also, now recall the Semitic ruler, Sargon. He was in charge of the Semitics, like this. Now, he was rescued in the same manner, out of a basket, taken up, and after he was placed in the basket and sent floating down the river, Sargon reigned from 2,335 BCE to 2,279 BCE. He was called Sargon the Great. Moses, okay? He was one of the first known major Semitic conquerors in history. He was successful in conquering, watch this, the entire country of Sumer and ancient country of southwestern Asia. So he was well known, okay? Which corresponds approximately to the biblical land known as Babylon. Babylon was an ancient city in Mesopotamia, we know that, which was also located by the Euphrates River about 55 miles from what? The Gulf of, Persian Gulf, south of the present day Baghdad. Now it's called Baghdad. But Sargon created an empire that stretched from the Mediterranean Sea to the Persian Gulf. That's a lot of territory, okay? And, the Persian Gulf. Now, in the adoption of the child into royalty and rulership motif. It's a motif. It's a story. It's a myth to teach, okay? To make a point, to enlighten you. But y'all, he really happened. Stop! Was apparently what? It was apparent, that motif was apparently what? A popular one and the theme way back in ancient times for those who wanted, you ready? To legitimize their what? Ascendancy to power by creating the perception that it was divinely ordained. We're doing this in God's honor. God told us to do this, to kill and colonize everybody. God told you to do that? That's that egotistic God. I keep telling you, y'all humanize God. That ain't God, that's man. But despite the myriad of ongoing excavations to this day that have been conducted by many, sponsored by who? The Christian faith or the Jewish groups, but no substantial evidence. I'll say it again. To this day, there's no substantial evidence to prove anything of that book that y'all call the Bible, that y'all think is so, okay, I have no use for it. I'm concern myself. But y'all just love it. I'm just trying to show you. These are things they say about it. I ain't saying it. But watch this. And no substantial evidence have been unearthed that supports the historicity of the Bible. However, here we go. New discoveries have been brought forth that corroborate Herodotus' statements and the histories relating to the fact that what? The land that is now called Palestine was once part of the ancient Egyptian stronghold. And it says right here, approximately 5,000-year-old settlement that was discovered in South Israel was built and ruled by the Egyptians when, during the formative period of Egypt's civilization, a team of archaeologists announced just last week the new find, which includes the first Egyptian-style tomb known to have existed where? In Israel. At that time, it suggests that ancient Egypt exerted more control over the neighboring regions than investigators have been assumed, contend project director Thomas E. Levy of the University of California, San Diego, is bringing to light. And they're fighting tooth and nail. Again, facts. How you gonna fight facts? Evidence. You got none, but how you gonna fight facts? But we can't fight, no evidence? Really? Religion? I don't have no use for it. Like philosophy that I can manifest in practice, I'm all for that. That's right thinking philosophy. I don't do religion. I fellowship with religious people. I ain't got a problem with that. But that's a lesson. Hope I made my point. I got for the book. That ain't my point. I ain't doing it. I'm telling you what they say. It's been for 2,000 years. They know the deal. So ain't no secrets. But if you still want to believe it, knock yourself out. Go for it. In closing, right thinkers, may y'all live to be 100. Me, 100 minus a day. So I never let my right thinkers who know themselves have passed away.